Like a Dragon was overall a blast to play and relieved that itch to jump into another Yakuza game. The side content, the characters, the gameplay, all made me fall in love with the game. But once I fully completed it, I got some questions that need answers regarding the story. I don't know about y'all, but that story felt very... So in no particular order, here are some problems I have with Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth's story. So we're gonna start off with the worst aspect of the past few games, and that is the Daidoji Faction. If I had to compare the Daidoji Faction's usefulness to something, it would be like taking antibiotics for a virus. RGG makes the Daidoji sound like this super secret clan that pulls the strings in all of Japan. But a door without a knob is more useful than them in this story. They offer us a plane directly to Japan for safety. Nope, they can't even manage that. We have to turn to Daddy Yamai, someone who has way less resources than the Daidoji. In Gaiden, there were this cool and efficient organization that had their shit together. In Infinite Wealth? Oh, let's just let in a tech genius in a wheelchair in without running a simple background check. And the result...
He needs some milk.
I mean, come on. Eiji was pulling all the strings behind the scenes with his laptop out open, and you're telling me that Daidoji didn't notice? All they seem to be good at is stopping Kiryu from seeing his children. But when shit actually matters, they just shit the bed. They sort of remind me of the florist, who RGG also forgot about. They just serve as this lazy plot device, and anytime I saw them on screen, I just kept rolling my eyes. Now I'm going to roll on to the next problem, the mishandling of some characters. While I did love some of the characters like Tomizawa and Yamai, there were some new and existing characters in the story that made me question a few things. I want to start off with your boy, Wong Tou. When we first meet Wong Tou, we got this super awesome fight and this super awesome music in the background. I'm getting pumped up, my blood is getting pumped up, everything's getting pumped up. The plot ramps up, revealing Wong Tou as a son and gets kidnapped. Ooh boy, things are getting spicy. We then seek refuge with the Daidoji in the safe house, and then... Okay, so Wong Tou, we're gonna forget your son got kidnapped, and we're going to wait until you die in chapter 9. Oh look, we found your son! Yippee! Like justice for Wong Tou in the comments, please. He deserved better. RGG had me believing he would be a party member, teasing me, but instead, they just kill him. What even was the point? If they just killed him when he got stabbed, it wouldn't have made a difference. That's all I gotta say about him, because RGG wrote him off quicker than when my dad left to get milk. Now we gotta talk about my boy, Joongi Han. This is a fan favorite character, we love him, but the way he was shoehorned into this story made no sense, and even with his drink link, made less sense. This guy shows up randomly, and his excuse in his drink link is to run away from his apprentice. Like, what even is the point? There was no easing his way in, he just shows up out of thin air. Wong Tou would have been in his place instead. Justice for Wong Tou. Nah, but for real, as much as I love this character, I would have preferred someone else and built them up since they shoehorned them in the game. Honestly, not much to say about him, just felt like a very rushed introduction into the party and didn't feel fulfilling at all. Now I want to talk about the villains in this story, because man oh man, I got some problems. First up is Eiji. Now Eiji is introduced as this disabled, wheelchair-ridden guy who helps out Kasuga in his adventures in Hawaii. Now we all know Eiji, of course, pretending to be in a wheelchair, set himself up to manipulate Ichiban so that it reminds him of his boy, Ryo Aoki. This set everything up as Eiji being one of the main antagonists, but it all falls flat. The reason? Eiji gets very little screen time leading up to the plot twist. I feel like Ichiban and Eiji deserve more one-on-one time before and after the plot twist. Yeah, they had some one-on-one time in the beginning, but that's it. That was their bonding moment. There was no emotional connection. I feel like with more screen time, we would care about Eiji more, and leading up to the plot twist, I would have been just as angry as everyone else. However, I felt nothing. I wish they gave Eiji those little talks you can initiate around town like with your party members. Just something to set up why we should care about this character without revealing a whole lot. Instead, Eiji is just sidelined and forgotten about until the big reveal. And you know what? This makes it worse with the ending, but we'll talk about that ending later. And all we got to remember in their relationship together with Ichiban was this one French phrase. And speaking of no screen time, all I gotta say is Ebina should have fought Ichiban instead of Kiryu. There, I said it. They are blood related, for crying out loud, from the same father that Ichiban looks up to. They could have done some dramatic shit like, what would Arakara-san think? Ebina would then go, man, fuck that Arakawa, that coward. Ichiban gets mad and they charge at each other on the roof of the Millennium Tower. RGG, please hire me. No, but seriously, how did Kiryu get the limelight in this fight here? The only thing they have in common is that they're both Yakuza. Ebina and Kasuga are complete opposites, and I feel like their personalities has so much potential for them to build up and clash in the end. There was a lot of potential to touch on Ebina's backstory and his growing hatred for the Yakuza, and particularly Ichiban. It could have been a back and forth of Ichiban trying to reform Ebina, and in the end, Ebina comes to his senses because of Ichiban's actions. I think Ebina could have been an iconic antagonist, and he definitely needed another chapter to at least dive deeper. I really think the Hawaii setting did a lot of good and a lot of bad to the plot. I feel like if the game continued in Japan, we would have seen more of a clash between Ebina and Kasuga. And speaking of Hawaii, Bryce is another victim of not having enough screen time. First of all, why is Bryce an American surfer bro with a Japanese accent? I mean, what is this?
Fear not, my child. No evil can withstand the Hack Warrior's spirits.
Besides that, Bryce was just an odd antagonist in this game. He feels very one-dimensional. The introduction to him was great. You get the sense of mystery and allure to his character, and you want to find out more about him. But once you do, it's almost like that's it. They set him up to be this godlike figure, only to find out that he's just another con artist. There was no connection to Ichiban, and it felt like we just needed to stop him just to stop him. I wish they just showed more of the cult-like aspect of Bryce and just dove deeper. Bryce as a character fails to establish any sort of real connection with Ichiban, which I guess is a running theme here, as Eiji suffers from the same problems. They have these characters in the background with no real reason to why I should care about Bryce, other than he's trying to find my blood-related mom for the wrong reasons. They set this scene of his cult followers shooting up innocent people cause shock value, but it still does nothing for me. This guy's in the shadows so much, nothing he does has real impact in the grand scheme of things. Now let's move on to our protagonist, quote unquote, Ichiban Kasuga, or Kasuga Ichiban, whatever. This may be surprising to a lot of you, but Ichiban felt like he was sidelined in his own game. The introduction of Kiryu unraveled into the game being about Kiryu. While I did enjoy all the life links and reminiscing about the past, it felt like Ichiban had no time for him to grow as a character. He's almost becoming that butt of the joke character in this game.
Will you marry me?
And we all know him as this forgiving, caring, and charismatic person. I would have loved to see him change in a way where when someone does something that is deemed unforgivable, he flips the switch. For example, when we got Chitose's betrayal, I didn't mind if Kasuga did forgive her, but it all happens way too fast, which is a running theme with the story at this point. Instead, Kasuga maybe should have felt a little angry. I mean, Akane and Lani got kidnapped, and Hanawa and Wong Tou die as a result of her actions. I don't know if someone I trusted did something where it resulted in my blood-related mom getting kidnapped, but I'd be just a little mad. But nah, Kasuga is like, all good, Chitose, we all fuck up, it's all good, bro. I would have loved to see some emotion, and Chitose had to do something big to make up for her faults. Just my 2 cents, but this is how I felt about Ichiban for the majority of the game. And now I want to move on to that ending, because the ending is the main issue I have with this game. The ending felt like the ending of the second Miles Morales movie. It just ends, and you're left wondering what the fuck is going on. So let's start with Kasuga's side. He talks to Eiji like they're best friends. Bro, he showed you around the city for like half a day. What do you mean best pals? He then takes a beating for Eiji and proceeds to get knocked out. I'm all for Kasuga's personality of going above and beyond for his friends, no matter the situation, is admirable. When you actually care about the character though, as I said before, we know very little about Eiji from a personal connection standpoint. So why should I care about this scene? Part of me felt like we should have something else, like Kasuga connecting with Akane on a more personal level, showing Lani taking over as Pelicana's leader, or maybe visiting Kiryu as he's seen to almost die. And I mean, how many times do we have to see Kiryu almost die? It's like a running joke at this point. His interaction with Ebina at the end of the boss fight didn't even make me shed a tear. Are we supposed to feel like Kiryu is dead in these scenes? Because if so, it didn't work. I was just like, yeah, he's not dead. The running theme of my problems with this game's ending is a lack of emotional connection with a lot of these characters we get introduced to. The short list of characters I did care about were Yamai, Chitose, and Tomizawa. That Yamai story about his ex-lover with Alzheimer's was, I wanted more of that. It's just so weird because RGG is so good at character intros and then building them up through emotional connection. I don't know what happened in this game, but it felt like RGG wrote the first half of the game and then gave the other half to Ubisoft or something. Listen, there were a lot of good and a lot of bad with the story, but there were just some things I could not let slide. The game overall was fantastic and I did have a lot of fun, but RGG feels like it bit off more than it could chew with its plot. And with all this being said, let me know how you guys feel about the story and put it in the comment section down below. And as always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.